It is an honor to have Derek Maltz join me today right here on The Warriors. Welcome back, Derek. First, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join me to spread truths and facts and the realities and also resources about what we need to do to fight the invasion that is happening upon America, our U.S. open borders. It is a national security threat. And I also want to say thank you. I can never thank you enough for your incredible service, the service of your family to protect America. So wake up, the United States. Speak up, take action. Derek, I don't like to read, but I do want to read your bio because I think it is very important for people to understand what a warrior you are and have been to protect all of us and help all of us. So I'm going to take a minute to do that. Derek Maltz is retired from the Drug Enforcement Administration, that's the DEA, after 28 years of dedicated service. Mr. Derek Maltz is a national security public safety executive who appears, I know you've all seen him on national, local news, radios, podcasts. He's all over online. I'm seeing him talking about fentanyl. He also testifies at the U.S. Congress as a subject matter expert. Derek works tirelessly to support families around America who've lost loved ones to fentanyl poisoning and to educate the public on this escalating public health security threat. Derek was the special agent in charge of the United States Department of Justice, DOJ, everybody, Special Operations Division, SOD, for almost 10 years before he left the federal government. Derek Maltz also previously held, listen up everybody, the position of the chief of the New York Drug Enforcement Task Force, which is the oldest and largest drug task force in America. As the agent in charge of Special Operations Division, Derek was instrumental in growing SOD from 9 to 30 participating agencies, including personnel from the UK, Canada, Australia, and New York City. And the New York City, Police Department, NYPD, everybody. Mr. Maltz oversaw the operations of approximately 500 SOD personnel and was responsible for an annual budget of $100 million while incorporating the DOJ's priority international organized crime and gang operational programs into the center. I'm almost breathless saying all of this, Derek. You know, Derek Maltz, right now, you are also part of the team Border 911. That website, everyone, is border911.com. And this is a team of experts speaking up and out and showing us the realities about what is happening at our open U.S. borders, because every state is a border state. I'm going to urge all of you, but not right now when we're done. Go to border911.com, learn more, find out how you can help, send donations, volunteer, share this video, share all of their information, and wake up your neighbors and your family members. We are not fooling around, sir. Are we? Welcome, Derek, to the Warriors.
Lynn, thank you very much. I appreciate your passion and enthusiasm for this topic because it's such a huge national security topic for every American. Doesn't matter if you voted for Republicans or independent voter, if you're a Democrat, really doesn't matter because everybody's in this together. The problem is the American public is not getting the facts, so they don't understand it. So thank you for helping.
Thank you. I mean, I am in awe of Border 911 and all you are doing. First of all, let's lay out the landscape. We've spoken a couple of other times previously. What is going on as of January 2024? Describe the landscape of the border and what's happening.
Well, the best one word I could give is disaster, catastrophic. I mean, we've never seen anything like this in the history of the country. Obviously, the Border Patrol is totally inundated. They basically, completely overrun by the mass amounts of illegals coming into the country. They're not doing what they all signed up for, and that is to protect America. They are doing babysitting. They're doing processing, and they're basically being, held down as far as talking out about the problem. They're restricted in what they can communicate with the public. So, it's really, really sad. And we have like record low morale, even though they're doing a great job and they're still working hard. They're very unhappy because they can't do what they signed up to do, and they see the country falling apart. But most importantly, they see their leadership deceiving the public. And it doesn't get any worse than that. When you lose confidence in your leadership, you just don't want to be doing it. That's why suicides are up. That's why alcohol-related incidents are up. Domestic disputes are up because it's disgusting. Nobody that's ever been involved in law enforcement wants to see their leaders lie to the people that pay the check, pay the salary. And so right now, we've never had anything like this. So to make it really clear, between human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug smuggling, poisonous substance smuggling. We've never had anything like this in the history of the country. So to really be clear, right now, I want everyone to know we have historic fentanyl deaths, historic fentanyl seizures by law enforcement, not only at the border, but inside America. We have historic production of deadly substances coming into America. We have historic profits of the Mexican cartels, historic human smuggling and sex trafficking, historic amounts of unknown illegals from 180 countries coming into America. And we have historic bills for everyone in America going up because we got to pay for all these illegals for their babies, for their health care, for their schools. That's disgusting. You know, we're displacing American students from schools by putting migrants in our schools and telling the kids they're going to have Zoom school today. Anyway, I can go on all day regarding that, but one last thing on that question. The FBI director told everyone many times that China is the most, troubling, alarming threat to this country, the national security. So why the hell are we letting in military-age Chinese men at record levels? We've never seen anything like it. Over 2 years, from 2021, 2023, about a 7,000% increase in Chinese nationals. Most of them are military-age men.
I'm almost speechless, but not quite, because we have to keep talking about this. You know, I just retweeted. I was on your Twitter this morning, or X. I guess it's called X now. X Twitter, I'll call it. And I saw that you posted that about the military-age Chinese men. Let me tell you, Derek, what let me point out your Twitter. It's Derek Maltz, everybody, _SR, as in senior. Here's what I find so offensive, and I think I was the only one I came across. January 1, Joe Biden, I like to call him the current occupant of the White House. I personally call him a squatter of the White House, but that's me, a squatter in the White House. He put out a proclamation that January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month in the United States. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, Derek, but it was basically, we're not going to allow this on our watch, this horrible trafficking and this and that. And I said to myself and brought up to many people, I don't understand. We got open borders. The work we do, we see so much sex and labor trafficking. We see all these unaccompanied kids. I'm still asking about, where are all these kids? And so I find great offense. So you brought up the point, you know, the Border Patrol, everybody is discouraged and worn out from their leaders lying. This is a multi-part question, but I know Jim Jordan just spoke up. What are they doing, actually? Republicans and Democrats, anybody, but I'm going to say Republicans right now, about all of this, because I only see it escalating. Every time I talk to you, it's only getting worse. What are they actually doing that you can share with us?
Well, again, you know, the Republicans are holding the hearings. I testified with Jason Jones and others back a few months ago at the same committee that's holding these hearings to impeach Mayorkas. Basically, Mayorkas has told America that he has operational control of the border. That is actually so wrong. Just watch some of the social media videos. If you don't know anything about the border, just watch the masses of hundreds and hundreds from Africa, from Syria, from Afghanistan, from Yemen, all over the place. But Mayorkas will look Congress in the eyes and look the public in the eyes and say, we have operational control. So they're trying to show that he actually is facilitating the greatest, mass illegal migration in the history of the country. He's basically facilitating the greatest human trafficking, sex trafficking operation in the history of the country. He's facilitating the biggest and most historic fentanyl poisoning crisis or poisoning crisis the country's ever faced. But it's just good old common sense. When this administration took over the White House, they immediately reversed the policies that were working to keep us safe. If you look at the numbers of the illegals apprehended at the southwest border when Donald Trump was the president the last year, it was like 458,000 at the southwest border. Well, last year at the southwest border, there was like 2.4 million that were apprehended. So you can see the increases. So, for example, they stopped the Remain in Mexico policy. That in itself costs no money to implement tomorrow. So if you want to file an asylum claim, Lynn, That's fine. You're entitled to file an asylum, but you'll stay in Mexico until we can adjudicate it. If you come into the country illegally, we used to put them in the, cells or whatever you want to call them, incarceration pens, whatever, over at the border facilities. And they would stay there until an immigration judge can review their asylum claim. Well, that was a big deterrent. They didn't want to pay the cartels thousands of dollars to get them into the country and then have to sit in a pen until they could get their cases adjudicated. And then they got sent back, right? Well, that's why the numbers were so low. So those two policies alone, the Biden administration eliminated them. There's no rhyme or reason for doing that. And then, of course, they stopped the border construction. They cost the taxpayers, billions of dollars, whatever it was, as the steel and everything and the equipment is still laying out on the border around the country. They stopped that project. So there's nobody that has any common sense that could put any kind of reasoning, logical reasoning as why they would do that. The government's number one job is to protect American people and the country. So clearly there's something more going on. Now, we get asked a lot about why would they do this? Well, there's only one possible reason. They want to change the political landscape for the history of the country. The more migrants they get in here, the more the census will go up because they want to count the illegal migrants in the census. And then they'll have to have more congressional seats because that's how the congressional seats get allocated. So for the rest of the country's history, they'll have the House, the Senate, the White House, and they'll control everything. And they'll turn this country into a third world country, which is already on that path now. So, yeah, it's very, very sad. I don't know what the hell they do there. They go there, they like to pontificate. When I testified last time, and I encourage you to watch this, I was attacked by the Homeland Security ranking member from Mississippi. He started in his opening statement pontificating, this is a waste of our time. And this is a Southwest border Groundhog Day. And this is a MAGA movement. No, we didn't come there to talk about MAGA movements. We came to that hearing to educate this committee on what the hell is going on to real Americans. Jason Jones came up from the border. He flew up on his own dime. He paid for his hotel to educate these people. And this is how they treated us. And anyway, it was a joke. It's so disappointing. That's why I'm very hesitant when they call me to go back to these hearings. I don't want to waste my time. The only reason I still do it is because you see the families, the kids behind me that are all dead. I do it to help the families because it gives them some satisfaction that somebody's fighting for them. So we have an army of families around America now that are trying to spread awareness to save lives because they see the incompetence of the government and the lack of engagement. So we have a movement. We're trying to work hard to save lives. There's no MAGA agenda behind that. If you look at my board, there's blacks, there's whites, there's Asians, there's Indians, there's Eskimos. Fentanyl doesn't discriminate. A wide open border is impacting all Americans. It's not impacting just the Democrats or Republicans, independents, everyone. Like I say, and I had a saying a couple of years ago where, and even the drug czar now has used my saying, which is fine because it's right on the money. This is not a red or a blue issue. It's a red, white, and blue issue. All Americans should care because every American's impacted. So that's really sums it up, Lynn. I mean, we didn't go to Congress to talk about, throwing the Donald Trump flag, although Donald Trump's policies kept us all safe. Economically, we were doing a lot better. I mean, that saying, right? Am I better off now than 4 years ago? The answer is no. My insurance is going through the roof. I can't believe these hidden costs that are killing Americans right now. You go to the grocery store, you have 2 packages of groceries. It's costing you $150. You're like, what the hell did I just buy? You can't even eat because there's nothing in there that you can eat. Then you go and you get your HOA bill from your homeowners association and it goes up $1,000 in a year. Like, what the hell is this? You call them up. They say, well, that's because the replacement and the repairs for homes and damaging properties, it's gone skyrocketed. Oh, okay. Then you get your car insurance bill. And oh my God, it's gone up $1,000. I never had a claim. Oh, Mr. Maltz, we have across the board hikes in car insurance in the country because we have a lot of uninsured drivers now, and we got to pay for all these damages and stuff. And you start realizing this is impacting everyone, right? And so, again, it's frustrating as hell. The policies of this administration are destroying America. And you know what's really interesting, Lynn? The mayor of New York City, he's a Democrat. He basically said that the influx of migrants are going to destroy his city, but really it's going to destroy America. And basically, the mayor of Chicago, very progressive mayor, Brandon Johnson, what did he recently say? The entire country's at stake because of the migration crisis. That guy couldn't have been more accurate at that statement, and he's a Democrat. Chicago's a war zone. I was just in New York. It's a war zone. Okay? I didn't even want to go out into New York without my pistol because it's that dangerous. Okay? The subways, you can't go on the subways, which means people are now driving their cars to work because they're afraid to go on the subways. What does that mean? The traffic is unbearable. Do not drive in New York City. So anyway, I can go on all day, but with the main message that I want to make clear on the drug side specifically, that in the history of this country, we've never had a poisoning from substances that we're calling drugs. Because what we call fentanyl right now is really not fentanyl, it's poison. Because they are seeing so many deaths in this country. You know, there's roughly about 300, a day now, 9,000 a month dying from drugs. But you look at some of the statistics, like the DEA, for example, this year alone in 2023, last year, they seized about 77 million fake pills and 12,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. The DEA administrator has also put warnings out to America that 7 out of 10 pills that they have analyzed contain a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl. So that means all the pills that are being produced, if they seize 77 million, Lynn, can you imagine how many the cartels are producing? And the latest stat is that DEA seized 384 million deadly dosage units of fentanyl in 2023. So this is nothing we've ever seen before. So don't let people say this is the same old drug crisis. We're sick and tired of hearing about the drug crisis. No, this is a mass poisoning, and communist China's fingerprints are all over it. They're sending mass amounts of people into the country. They're doing the money laundering for the cartels now. They've created very efficient systems of money laundering, which we are having a hard time in law enforcement penetrating for a lot of reasons. They're using encryption on the communications, so you can't penetrate that. They're using Chinese banking apps. But now the Chinese businessmen, after they pick up $1 million from the cartel reps in America, they're buying property, they're buying farms, they're buying land, they're investing in our stock market. They're going to the casinos. They're washing the money through the casinos. They're beating us. They're setting up now thousands. They have over 1,000 identified in America marijuana grow operations in this country, all run by Chinese nationals. They're all running these operations not just to sell marijuana and make money, but the marijuana that they're selling is very high purity THC. It's causing damage to the brains of people. And they're taking advantage of the weak marijuana laws in this country. DOJ's got working groups set up right now to try to convince the DEA to, reschedule marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 because they feel, marijuana is not a big deal anymore. Well, you know what? I would disagree with that because the marijuana that's being smoked today is not the marijuana that the members of Congress even understand. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, that stuff wasn't going to kill you, but putting these chemicals in your brains today is causing increased schizophrenia, mental illness, depression, anxiety. Now the kid that smokes a joint wants to pop a Xanax to feel better. But the Xanax that they pop is not Xanax, it's fentanyl. Don't you think the Chinese are smart enough to figure out strategically how to destabilize and destroy America? They have a very good plan going on right now, and this administration has ignored connecting the dots for the public.
We at the Warriors, we work, Derek, with a lot of families and teenagers privately that have had these psychotic breaks, whether they've been, excessively vaping. That's usually the case. They've been vaping. So there's kind of like no time release, like in the old days with marijuana. Not that I'm promoting marijuana in any way, but just saying they're just vaping all day long. Right now, off the top of my head, 3 families working with, and these teens, they're all teens, 15 to 17, truly psychotic breaks. I mean, I don't think from the work we do, I know from the healthcare we work with, these kids will never be the same as adults with what's going on, these severe psychiatric problems. I want to ask you, so recently, and we talked about a little of this before we started, I did an event with your colleague, Jason Jones, here in New York City in October. And Jason wanted to show visuals of actual border, what is going on, which of course we know people are visual. That makes the impact, right? And I had a couple, more than one, come up to me at the end of the very, yes, it was, intense, but that's what the border is, and say that I made them completely, they were like yelling at me, like I made them sick. So, and these are what are considered, maybe wealthier people, people in the know, smart people. They knew what the event was about. Why does the American public, we see them right now, I don't want to get too political, taking to the streets about other issues going on around the globe. I don't understand, Derek, why people won't take to the streets about this issue of our borders. Why aren't we see other countries, how they take to the streets, whether it's Ireland, and we see France and UK and in masses. Why won't they take to the streets or understand fully about everything you just laid out? This is the most frightening thing that keeps me up at night.
Great question. They're uninformed and misinformed because our media in America is deceiving the public. They're favoring the current administration. And it's very sad because the media is supposed to give the public the facts. So Jason is a good friend of mine, and Jason is a warrior, and Jason does have some incredible, impactful material, because all of us are tired of talking about this and people not understanding it. So we figured maybe you show them some graphic, impactful videos, it will wake them up. So I'm going to do you a favor. And I didn't plan this, but I have this on my desk. So can you see this chart I have?
Yes.
So I want you to use this chart. So next time any of your people have a concern about the graphic, this is not going to make them sick, but this kind of tells the story. After 9/11, we had the Homeland Security, alerts that went out, and keep it simple with the colors, right? So after 9/11, we were trying to prevent another 9/11, and red was severe, and we wanted to make sure the public understood if it was red, they have to be careful. Well, right now we are red. So everybody that's watching this, anyone listening to this, we're at a severe level because we don't even know who the hell is in this country. And with all the unknowns, with the Hamas sympathizers, the radicals from the Hezbollah or Hamas or the Houthis, we're going after the Houthis now. So Iran is probably not happy with U.S. activity. So they've had a movement for years, moving to the Western Hemisphere so they could be positioned for the big day that they'd have to be set up and ready to go. We would call that sleeper cells, right? Well, now it's easy to set up a sleeper cell because you just come over the border. You have to pay a little extra money to the cartels. Nobody knows you came into the country. And now you set up operations across the country. You use your encrypted communications, and you set up the big day, right? The next 9/11, whatever you want to call it. I hope I'm wrong about this, but common sense says it's just a matter of time. And then the public's going to want to know, how did that happen? Oh my gosh, I thought we had security. I watched the news and they said, the Homeland Security Secretary said he's got control of the border. How does this happen? That's because there is no control. And that's why everyone has to get a little bit more educated. That's why I applaud folks like yourself and other folks out there, trying to educate the public with real facts. And that's what Border 911 is all about. Tom Homan's the CEO. His team that he put together, the 3 main players, Tom Homan, Mark Morgan, and Rodney Scott, they worked during the last administration and put together the most secure border that we've ever had. They worked locking up people in America. They understand the importance of immigration, but they also understand rule of law. They understand the importance of following a system, of law. So we all agree we want to bring immigrants into the country, but not illegals just taking over our cities. So to get back to your original question, yeah, I do the same thing at times, and I'm very upset about that with myself. Like, why did you just show these people that picture? Like, for example, I'm not going to show it right now, but when I went to the rally for the Lost Voices of Fentanyl, I held up the casket photo of the little baby, 3 years old, Cash from Kentucky, because I asked the mother, can I use that graphic? Because that may, get the attention of people out there. Because people don't realize the amount of babies that are dying from fentanyl. And they don't have a substance use disorder. They're innocent little 6-month-old, 9-month-old, 1-year-old, 3-year-olds that happen to touch fentanyl and die instantly. And this is another problem. Like, people think, oh, the fentanyl is not a big deal for me because my kids don't use drugs. I don't have drug addicts in my family. Yeah, but you know what you have? You have kids now that are watching videos all day, that are actually watching like about these school shootings, and they're petrified. They're depressed. They sat through social isolation. They're wearing masks, and they're very, very confused. So they fall into depression. They have anxiety. Then they pop a pill because they see mommy and daddy using Xanax in a prescription bottle, which is a great pill if it comes from CVS or Walgreens. But now they're taking pills. They have no idea it's poisonous pills, and they're dead. So kids are supposed to learn from mistakes, not die from mistakes. So we have a mess right now. And anybody out there that's listening to this needs to go out and get better educated, because it could be too late. If you don't have a chance to talk to your kids or your grandkids, your nephews, your nieces, your friends' kids, you're going to wish you had more information. Because the families that I work with, that's one of the things that make them the most angry. Why didn't the government ever tell me about this fentanyl that could be in these pills, or could be in cocaine, or could be in marijuana or methamphetamine? And that's kind of like really sad to me.
Derek, a couple of observations before I forget. First of all, you must continue going back anytime you want, or they'll have you to Congress. You must continue, with your colleagues, putting your face out there, because I'm starting up again my work. I was discussed it with Washington, both sides, and for the past year haven't really gone there much. Next month, I'm beginning to go again and talk in front of the DOJ. They've invited me. I'm not going to, if nobody listens, I don't care. I'm just going to keep putting it out there, the truths and facts and what's going on in New York City, where I sit today. So you must promise us that no matter what, you're going to go to Washington and continue talking about these truths.
Yeah, I say that
because they just want to wear us. They want to wear us down, so we don't go. That's what they're doing. So
when I was on the job, I had a little nickname. So my title was Special Agent in Charge, and the short acronym is SAC, right? SAC. They used to call me Sack Whack-A-Mole because I didn't go away. If you hit me down once, I'm coming back twice. If you hit me down twice, you know the game Whack-A-Mole, right?
Of course.
And so I would do the same thing now. And what's given me the inspiration to do that is working with all these families that are burying their kids as young as 12, 13 years old. And in the case of Cash, 3-year-old, right? So it's very sad. So they need a voice. And, it was an honor when I was called one day the voice of the voiceless, because when I started this movement for the families, nobody was listening to them. It wasn't until we got them in Congress, got them on TV, got them in front of people, that they started to pay attention. The national media, cable news networks started to, cover it a lot more once they listened to the stories, because these stories can hurt anybody when you hear the stories of these families, right? So anyway, I'm not going to stop. I just get exhausted because it wears me down, but we'll get a second wind and we'll go back. And as long as I get invited back, because, I'm not the type of witness. So the last time I testified before that, it was around COVID. Actually, no, 2 times before that, I actually got in there and I was so mad because it took me an hour and 15 minutes to get into the building, because they had the entire Capitol complex surrounded by fences and National Guard. So even as a retired executive in the government, and also as a guy, as a witness on the hearing, I had to walk an hour and 15 minutes to get in. So I said in the hearing that I now know that walls and barriers work, because it took me an hour and 15 minutes to get in here. So it's just kind of like a wise guy thing to say, because I lived it that day. But they don't want to put up the wall on the border because walls don't work. When it's politically, convenient for them, they'll say that walls don't work. But anyway.
I'm giving in full disclosure, I'm stealing that line from you next time I go, and I'll tell you why. Because the last time I went, I carry a pencil case like in my bag with me all the time. And it's actually a little evidence bag. And in it, I had a pair of like kindergarten, those little scissors that are plastic.
Yeah.
And they gave me the toughest time about my little plastic
Yeah.
scissors in my pencil case. And I'm like, "Okay, well, throw them out." They're like, "No, you go outside the building and use a garbage can outside of this building and throw them away." I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Really?"
God.
Because there's a garbage can, like, right through the security thing. I'm looking at this garbage. They're like, "No, you go out there and you throw them outside." And then I had to come back through. But I thought to myself, "Wow, with all these open borders, living in New York, seeing all of this criminality that I'm seeing on a daily basis, I can't believe what's happening."
By,
Okay,
by the way, I got a question for you. I know this is your show, but I got a question.
yeah,
Did you
ask
happen to
away.
see probably the grossest video I've ever seen is the one with the guy, the homeless guy with the rats underneath the blanket?
Of
And
course I saw it. Yeah.
that just petrified me because I hate rats. And it wasn't like one, it was like 20 that came from underneath the blanket. The poor guy is sleeping on the cement in the subway system and rats everywhere. It's disgusting.
Well, here's the strategist in me, Derek. I must admit, when I saw that, the way my mind works is somebody was there to take the video. Number one, did somebody plant these 20 rats under that blanket? Because they usually scurry. They're not going to like congregate that seriously. Right?
Yeah.
They'll run away because I see rats on the street all the time and they run away. They're not hanging around looking at me. Did somebody who took that video or somebody with them plant that? Because all everybody they just want these clicks and likes and go viral. I'm like,
That's
how are 20 rats under the blanket? Is that a
that's
real homeless guy? That's the way I think these days.
Well, all I can tell you is I don't disagree with you, but when I was in New York not too long ago, I saw a dead rat in the streets. It looked like a cat. It was so
Yeah.
big. I never seen anything so big. It was disgusting.
Thank you for reminding me of that because I have seen rats that are, especially at sort of at nighttime, if you're around, there's a little park in my neighborhood, they go under the fence in the bushes. They are as big as cats, for
And you
that.
know what I've been told, and I can't prove this, but I've been told that part of the reason that the rats are continuing to grow and grow and grow all over is because the garbage pickups are not happening as frequently because services in New York City had to be cut back. I don't know if that's a fact. That's what I've been told. Obviously, in the police arena, they have been cut, services and overtime and things like that, training. We've already heard from law enforcement about how they have been, cut back because of expenditures because they can't afford the migrant crisis.
Well, there were big splashy Eric Adams, the mayor, put out to cover these. I call them illegal aliens. I don't even call them migrants. We want legal immigration. We don't want these illegals breaking into our country. So don't get me started on that. When I see these little children, and it's not their faults, dressed better than American kids, because I live near some of these hotels and I see the pallets of goods being delivered on a daily basis from Mattel, clothing companies. These kids are walking around, and I'm sorry, they're children, but beautiful, expensive sneakers and beautiful ski jackets. And then I see some American kids, what I still call the projects in the neighborhood, with old clothes and holes in their shoes. And it's so unfair, but I'm digressing completely with that story. But Eric Adams announced he had to cover the migrants. So he'd be cutting, as you said, law enforcement, sanitation, education programs, the summer school program in New York public schools. However, it was announced last week and the week before, nobody really covered this. He said that, no, I've got to put some monies back in now. We have to have increased sanitation. I have been here living since 1979. Derek, I've never seen streets so dirty, overflowing garbage cans, rats like this. I've never seen it before. So he says, I have to investigate and see if that's just not some, he's shooting his mouth off again, if it's actually happening. But to pay for these illegal aliens and cutting children's education programs, sanitation, I mean, you need a businessman to run this city. That's kind of what you need to keep the services going, law enforcement, crime, clean streets, subway patrols. You need this. So I'm going to investigate that. But I did read a couple of different things. He's putting monies back in because everything is disaster here. Now, let me ask you. So would it be fair to say the cartels are operating then in all 50 states? They're operating.
100% and operating with impunity. coming over the border. But most importantly, they have no fear right now.
Right.
They have no fear, and they just continue, pushing the drugs, pushing these chemicals. And yeah, 100%, they are operating everywhere in America.
What do you want the public to do right now? Because I don't care. It's ugly. It's dark. It's part of the reality of America right now. What do you want them to do?
Well, that's a tough question because there's so much they need to do. They have to start by getting informed and educated. And this is not like a negative thing. I'm not being like arrogant and like demeaning anyone, but like everyone has busy lives. We have issues. All of us are dealing with it. But before you can, before you can vote appropriately, you have to understand the issues. Right now, most people that I talk to are misinformed and uninformed, right? And it's partially because the news organizations, so they have to do a little bit more research on their own. When it comes to fentanyl poisoning, as an example, just watch the movie Dead on Arrival with your family. It's 20 minutes. You watch it, and you'll understand real families that went through hell and why your kid needs to know that this can happen to them. Things like that. Go to the DEA website, One Pill Can Kill, and just, breeze through it and see all the educational material and learn more about fentanyl. Go look at some of the Facebook groups on the nonprofits on fentanyl. It's not going to cost you anything to do these simple things. But then I want you to go, when you're in Washington, go to your representative's office and raise hell because they're not doing their job. Nothing's getting done. We're in another continuing resolution. They were supposed to shut down the border or shut down the government. They didn't do that. They just pushed the can down the road. And so they need to start getting more involved. They have to realize that every election has consequences, and we're running out of, time where if we don't make the right choice, because I want to make something really clear, and this is not favoring any party, that in November, the national election is about good and evil. We cannot sustain this country without having a secure border. Without security, without the rule of law, you have no country. We should not be allowing people in this country to break down the windows and the doors of these high-end department stores and run in and rip them off of the Louis Vuitton pocketbooks with no, nothing, no punishment, right? In Target, in CVS out there in California, they have to lock up socks and underwear. So who the hell's going to go in there and wait for someone to come with socks and underwear that they have locked up in the basement? This should not happen here in America. So we have to get much tougher on the criminals. We have to update the laws. We have to unite. And we have to stop being so political, because all of the things we discussed on this discussion, Lynn, is really not political. It's being made political, but it's national security. It's life and death. So I don't know what other way to say it. So they have to be just more informed. They're not getting the right. Don't rely on one news station. Watch both news stations. If you watch CNN, go watch Fox. If you watch your local news, go watch your national cable news. Just get a diversity of knowledge, and this way you can make your own assessments based on common sense. Watch the social media videos on the border, on the invasion. Look at the trains. Thousands of people on these trains like lunatics from all over the world, screaming and yelling. They're all coming to your city. The cartels are in your bedroom right now today, because as your little Johnny is sitting in a room, you think he's doing homework, he's on Snapchat or he's on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, social media platform. And the predators out there are watching their moves, and you got to be careful. So you have to understand it can happen to your kid. Sextortion. Do you know anything about that, Lynn?
Yes, because I teach about it constantly and make people aware.
One quick story about it, because this is how it blew me away. I got a call one day from a guy in Mississippi. He said, "Mr. Maltz, I need your help. I know you're helping out. You're on Fox News, but my son is 16 years old, beautiful kid, football player. We're farmers out here in Mississippi. We don't have a lot of money, but my kid got an Instagram message from somebody he thought was a beautiful, young, attractive female. Long story short, they extorted him after they got him to do some sexual acts on video, and they asked him for $1,000, and he didn't have the ability to pay. So they told him he might as well kill himself, and that's what he did. So we got him on national news. The story was told, but that's also very prevalent too. So we're getting hit by these crime groups outside the country. But here's the sad part. Many of those sextortion schemes are done by folks from Nigeria, as an example.
Yes.
We have a lot of those now coming into the country. A lot of migrants from Africa are coming into the country as well. So it's really scary, and it's really happening quickly. So I would encourage everyone to start learning a little bit more about what's going on.
Well, Derek, I'm going to have links in the body of this, to all of this, your congressional testimony. I'm going to have that. I'm going to have a lot of things so people can just click on the link and watch. Because again, I think people are visual, and that makes more of an impact when they kind of watch things. I was encouraged recently when a judge announced that it was 60 different family members, for the kids.
I work with them. Yeah, I work with them closely on a Snapchat.
That's why I'm bringing that up. If you could just tell us a little bit about that. That to me was very encouraging. We've been, pushing that they be held responsible, these platforms. What can you tell us about that? Where is that going right now?
Well, there's a bunch of really, really nice people out in California. Amy Neville, and she runs the Amy Neville Foundation. Jaime Puerta, who runs Void, Victims of Illicit Drugs. And there's a movement out there because all of these poor young kids went on Snapchat, ordered these pills like it was a pizza delivery to their house. And then unfortunately, the families found them dead in the bedrooms or in the houses. So it's devastating. And what they're saying, and I'm not a legal expert, I don't know all the details from the court perspective, but they're basically saying there's like product liability, right? The product out there is helping facilitate the death of these kids. And the company is not doing the due diligence and the corporate responsible things to prevent it from happening. They're using advanced AI and, different types of algorithms. Again, I'm not the expert in that area, which is going to these kids, and it's sending messages to these kids, and they're preying on these kids, and there's criminal activity going on, including distribution of fentanyl. And they want to see that the company is held accountable. The law, the Section 302, law in America is outdated already. The way it was written many years ago is not applicable to the types of communications and social media companies today. So I wish them the best. They deserve some kind of, there should be some accountability on anyone responsible. So again, I don't know all the details, but I do know that I support the families and I support their legal action.
Yeah, I thought it was a really positive, good move because I believe once something like this happens and it kind of snowballs and other judges will kind of get on board in their communities and start to work on these issues. Right now in Congress, we have six bipartisan child safety, online, because we have this AI. That's a whole nother program we have to get into, the AI, the artificial intelligence or artificial general intelligence. The most scary thing, the tech experts we work with that say, Lynn, it's going to be more evil than good is our belief. And nobody's talking enough about that. But I just want to say, get your final thoughts on something I preach all the time, Derek, and that is parents and caregivers, guardians, family members really have to, in 2024, very open and honestly, of course, age appropriate, talk about these issues because this is just the reality now of what's happening. We can't hide things. For instance, the sextortion among teenage boys is so high. And many parents I've worked with have said, I like the kids were embarrassed. Anyway, we need to have open and honest communication with the kids, with our teens, to talk about whether it's fentanyl, because the tip of a pencil, am I correct? Correct me here, can kill. Just a little, pencil tip. And also to talk to our kids can handle it. Because one of the complaints I get once I work with kids in focus groups is once they open up to me, it's like, oh, our parents don't talk to us about any of this. We're learning from our friends or we're learning on TikTok. So before I let you go, because I could talk to you for 24 hours straight and then some, what do you think about all that? I think we have to be, blatantly, again, age appropriate in 2024, honest with our kids. There are bad people online. There are predators. Let's leverage the internet for good. How, as a family, how are we going to work together to make this all happen? What are your thoughts on this?
All right. So great question. So let me leave it at this. Number one, that's why every parent has no excuse but to watch Dead on Arrival. And there's another one, I believe it's Come Back Home, same production company, same people. But this one, Come Back Home, is the siblings who have lost their siblings to fentanyl tell their side of the story. So anybody watching this is going to be able to relate very closely to these other kids that tell the story about losing their brothers and sisters. The second thing is Dead on Arrival is basically an outstanding documentary, 20 minutes, so there's no excuse, where you can then open up the dialogue with your kid to explain what's going on. I would encourage everyone to go to DEA's One Pill Can Kill so you can get a little bit educated first, then watch the movie, and it'll be 100% productive event with your kids. And then if, God forbid, anything ever happened with your kids, at least you wouldn't feel the guilt for the rest of your life that you didn't try to educate your kids and talk to them about this. So the other thing that's driving me crazy, but I want to bring this up to you. The reason a lot of these kids are not getting the messaging is because the kids are not watching cable TV. They're not watching mainstream media. They're not watching all these podcasts and everything. What they're doing is they are watching video reels all day long on social media. So I've called out for the last couple of years to have a national campaign of social media influencers, professional athletes, role models, celebrities, to learn a little bit about the crisis with fentanyl and get them to blitz the social media sites with all these 30-second, impactful messages on people that these kids are following, right? I could talk all day and put out stuff on Twitter. They're not following me. They need to hear it from Tom Brady, LeBron James, JJ Watt, Steph Curry, all of these major athletes and these celebrities that are out there. Just as an example, Jelly Roll's testimony, like last week, was so impactful, and he's got millions of followers, the country singer, talking about fentanyl from a totally different perspective. That's the kind of thing that we need to get the messaging out there. It's not going to work the way we're doing it. And that's why we're losing so many people. So thank you for that question.
I'm glad you brought that up about Jelly Roll. I mean, because he was a drug dealer. He knows all about this. And that, again, is what resonates with the kids. Again, I can talk all day about this. That's what I've got to encourage that more. I've approached a lot of people, and I have to be honest, Derek, they don't want to do it like the celebrities.
And you know why they don't want to do it? Because they don't understand it, because they thinking it's the same old drug crisis, and they don't want to get associated, their brand tainted from the drug crisis, smoking marijuana. No, we're not talking about smoking marijuana. We're talking about mass poisoning of our kids and our future generation. If they understood that message, they'd want to help. There's not one athlete out there that I could think of that wouldn't want to help save the kids' lives.
I agree. And also, we've had a lot of influencers or celebrities, whatever you want to call them these days, dying of these drug overdoses. So whether we get the complete stories, due to PR and all of that, and images, we've had a lot of deaths of
Robert De Niro's grandson, Ray Lewis, legendary NFL player, his son recently just died. Is one after another. I keep track of these. But again, people sit back and say, well, it's not going to happen to my kid. My kid wouldn't use that stuff. Well, they don't even know that all the illicit drug supply is tainted right now. So I hope it doesn't happen, but it can any day of the week.
And that is one fact we at the Warriors always, even if your child is ordering these aspirin, because I've had kids say, I'm ordering Tylenol on Snapchat. I'm like, don't you want to go to CVS? And they're like, no, it's easier because they deliver it to my back door. And I'm like, but do you know who made that? No. See, that's like what I don't understand. I don't know. Even if I was 12 or 14, I don't think I'd be buying strange Tylenols or something off of but I don't know. It's a new mindset. I guess the 30 and under set, they've grown up with the internet, so they think it's everything, I guess. I can't figure it out,
Right. It's just more convenient in many ways, right? You do a little Cash App payment, you do a Venmo, whatever. You don't have to get cash. It's just this stuff is making it easier to get access, and the cartels are taking total advantage of that.
Well, I am committed to not letting anybody win. And even if I educate Derek one person at a time, once a day, I just want to say to you, thank you for taking the time today. We're going to have so much information in the body of this video for everybody. I am going to also add that today is my birthday. You are the greatest birthday present for me, because
Thank
you are such an expert, and to share your time and your expertise. I'm very serious about this. And to join me so that I can then share this with the public. This is what it's all about. And I think it's 2024. We all need to step up and do something. We all need to talk to the kids nonstop. I want to thank you so much. Border911.com is the website for everybody. Please go there. I'm urging everybody, donate, volunteer, find out how to speak to your kids. Do something. There you go. Border 911. Also, Derek, he's all over the place. He's on all these different news shows. He's online. Wonderful information. Just retweet him. Share everything. Just share it on your platforms. That's a warrior move. That is Derek Maltz _SR. Derek Maltz, I want to thank you for your service to our country, your family service, for helping protect us, for educating me so I can do my job better. You know, I'll be calling upon you again. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you. And if you ever invite me to one of your conferences, I won't get the people sick, but I will use my little props like this.
No, I think we have to get the people sick because it is sickening. No, I'm all for, we have to get people sick because that's the reality. I will indeed. I have a lot of things, a lot of initiatives I'm working on for 2024. We're going to work something out. You're a wonderful speaker, full of knowledge, and it is just an honor to know you. And thank you again.
Thank you, Lynn. Enjoy your weekend, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Derek. We'll talk again soon.